Have you ever felt drained, like you're carrying a weight you can't shake off, and no matter how much you try, that emptiness just doesn't seem to go away? You're not alone. In fact, it's something so many of us experience. This feeling of being overwhelmed by life's demands, of constantly battling a sense of exhaustion, both mentally and emotionally. It's easy to feel like you're the only one struggling, but in reality, it's a shared human condition. Everyone goes through it at some point, though we often don't talk about it. Why? Because there's a quiet shame that comes with admitting it, as if we should have everything together. But here's the truth. This feeling doesn't mean you're broken. No, far from it. It simply means you're disconnected from your true self. And that disconnect is what creates that hollow, overwhelming feeling. Now, imagine if you could reconnect with that inner part of you, the version of yourself that isn't weighed down by external pressures. The part that knows how to respond when life throws challenges your way. It's not about waiting for some magic solution or expecting everything to suddenly become perfect. Life doesn't work like that, but there's a path, a way of thinking, that can guide us through this fog. And that's where Stoic philosophy comes in. Stoicism isn't about chasing after eternal happiness or avoiding discomfort. It's not about pretending the world is all sunshine and rainbows. Instead, it teaches us how to respond, how to face life's trials with strength, clarity, and resilience. The Stoics understood that suffering is part of the human experience. But how we react to that suffering is where our true power lies. They didn't promise us a life free from hardship. What they promised was a way to thrive despite it. What if, instead of feeling lost in your struggles, you could look at them through a new lens? What if, instead of being overwhelmed by the chaos, you learn to navigate it with a calm mind and a strong spirit? This isn't some abstract concept. This is a practical philosophy, a blueprint for living a life that's grounded, purposeful, and empowered by your ability to control how you respond to everything that happens around you. In the next moments, we'll explore the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and how it can help you reclaim your inner strength. You're not alone in this, and no matter how heavy the world may seem, there's always a way forward, a way back to yourself. Let's begin this journey together, one thought at a time. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept up in the whirlwind of distractions, work, social media, endless entertainment. These things flood our lives, and yet, something is missing. Despite being constantly busy, many of us still feel this profound emotional void that we can't seem to fill. It's almost as if, in our race to keep up with the world around us, we've forgotten to check in with ourselves. We keep running, trying to fill that emptiness with achievements, likes, and things that should supposedly bring joy. But they don't. They may provide a fleeting moment of pleasure, but soon enough, the void is back, deeper and more overwhelming than before. I've felt this myself. I've been in that place where, even after a day full of tasks and accomplishments, I still lie awake at night, feeling like something is missing. We're all guilty of it, aren't we? We tell ourselves, once I achieve this, I'll be happy. Once I buy that, I'll feel complete. But it's never enough. We're constantly chasing something, but the more we run after it, the further it slips away. And that's when the pressure mounts. We feel this need to appear happy, successful, to have it all together for everyone to see. We scroll through social media, comparing our lives to the curated perfection of others, and it only deepens the disconnect. We think we're the only ones struggling, but everyone else is pretending too. The truth is, this emotional void isn't a sign of weakness. It's a signal that we've lost touch with ourselves. And the more we ignore it, the louder it becomes. But here's the thing, the void isn't permanent. It doesn't have to define us. It's not a life sentence. It's a wake-up call, a reminder that we need to pause, to breathe, to step back from the chaos and reassess what truly matters. That's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics were masters at accepting what they could not control. They didn't believe in denying or suppressing emotions. They acknowledged that life is full of challenges, and sometimes things will go wrong. But here's the crucial lesson they taught us. While we can't control everything, we can control how we respond, and that's where the power lies. It's time to take control of how we respond to that emotional void. Instead of filling it with distractions, we need to fill it with meaningful actions, ones that reconnect us to our true selves. Stoicism teaches us that reflection is essential. Acknowledging our inner state, without judgment, is the first step toward healing. In the stillness of our minds, in those moments of silence, we can rediscover what we truly need. What if we spent just a few minutes a day reflecting, breathing, tuning into ourselves instead of drowning in the noise? What if we chose to slow down and actually listen to what our hearts are telling us, rather than chasing after what the world says we should want? Imagine how different our lives could be if we took those pauses, those moments of silence, and used them to reconnect with our true desires. The Stoics believed that the path to true happiness wasn't through external achievements, but through mastering our inner world. It's not about being constantly busy or always doing something. It's about understanding ourselves and making intentional choices that align with our values. By slowing down, by giving ourselves permission to be still, we might just find that the void isn't something that needs to be filled. It's something that needs to be understood. And when we understand it, we can finally begin to heal. Life has a way of testing us, pushing us to our limits, and making us question if we can continue. We've all felt it, the crushing weight of fatigue, the emotional exhaustion that seems to linger forever. But here's something crucial to understand. This emptiness you're feeling, this tiredness, is not the end of your journey. It's just the beginning of something much bigger, something that requires you to dig deep and rise. It's easy to see life's challenges as setbacks, to feel like we're failing when we're knocked down. But the Stoics believed that adversity itself isn't the problem. It's how we respond to it that defines who we are and who we become. I know from my own experience that life doesn't get easier with time. In fact, it often gets harder, but that's not something to fear. That's something to embrace. Every hardship is an opportunity, an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to transform ourselves. Think about it, the emptiness you feel, the fatigue, the obstacles you face, they all have the potential to change you. But only if you choose to face them, not run from them, and that's where resilience comes in. Resilience is not about avoiding pain or pretending that everything is fine. It's about getting back up after you've been knocked down. It's about finding strength in your vulnerability and learning how to keep going even when it feels like the world is against you. It's easy to let life's challenges defeat us, to let them define our narrative, but we have the power to rewrite that story. The Stoics teach us that the key to overcoming adversity is our attitude toward it. Life will always throw obstacles our way, but how we perceive those obstacles makes all the difference. Imagine, for a moment, that instead of seeing every setback as a failure, you saw it as a challenge, a chance to learn, to become stronger. What if we could reframe our mindset, transform our view of adversity from something we must avoid to something we must embrace? That shift in perspective is the difference between staying stuck and moving forward. Challenges don't have to be roadblocks. They can be stepping stones to something greater. When we choose to face adversity with resilience, we open ourselves up to a world of possibility. Instead of fearing the future, we greet it with confidence, knowing that whatever comes our way, we have the strength to handle it. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca knew this truth well. They faced their own personal struggles, wars, loss, betrayal, and yet they stood firm in their belief that adversity was not something to be feared, but something to be conquered with grace and wisdom. They believed that the obstacles in our path are not meant to break us, but to build us into stronger versions of ourselves. And here's where the real magic happens. When you stop seeing challenges as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities for growth, your entire life changes. You stop shrinking away from the things that scare you. You start leaning into them, understanding that every difficulty is a chance to grow, to rise, and to evolve into the person you are meant to be. This shift in mindset is what allows you to face life's toughest moments not as a victim, but as a warrior. You begin to understand that your true power doesn't lie in avoiding hardship, but in how you face it and what you choose to do with it. We all have that voice in our heads, don't we? The one that tells us we're not good enough, that we're failing, or that we'll never make it through the challenges we face. It's a voice that's often loudest when we're feeling emotionally drained, when we're overwhelmed by life. That internal dialogue can be relentless, and if we're not careful, it can spiral into thoughts of worthlessness and despair. It's easy to get caught in that cycle, where every negative thought feels like the truth, and every challenge seems insurmountable. But here's the harsh reality. That voice in your head isn't always telling the truth. In fact, more often than not, it's distorting reality. The Stoics knew this well. They understood that our minds are powerful, but they also knew that our thoughts can betray us. The Stoic approach to emotional regulation doesn't ignore negative thoughts, it challenges them. It teaches us that while we can't always control our feelings, we can control how we respond to them. That means taking a step back and questioning the validity of our negative thoughts. Are they based on facts, or are they just the result of our emotions taking over? The Stoics would argue that we have the power to replace those thoughts with more realistic, more grounded perspectives, but changing the way we think isn't easy. It takes practice. It takes conscious effort. That's where mindfulness and cognitive restructuring come in. Mindfulness is the act of being present, of observing your thoughts without judgment. It's about creating a space between stimulus and response, where you can choose how to react instead of simply reacting out of habit. When you practice mindfulness, you begin to realize that your thoughts are just that, thoughts. They don't define you, and they certainly don't have to control you. Cognitive restructuring, on the other hand, is about actively challenging and changing negative thought patterns. When that voice in your head tells you that you're not enough, you can reframe it. Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," you might say, "I am doing my best, and I'm capable of improving." It's about shifting from self-criticism to self-compassion. And speaking of self-compassion, this is one of the most powerful tools we have for emotional regulation. It's easy to be hard on ourselves, especially when we're feeling drained and defeated. But the truth is, we're often our own harshest critics. Self-compassion means acknowledging your feelings without judgment. It means giving yourself the same kindness and understanding that you would give a friend who is struggling. Simple practices like deep breathing can also help calm the mind and bring us back to the present moment. It's easy to get lost in the past or worry about the future. But the present moment is the only time we truly have. When we focus on our breath, we can center ourselves, regain control of our emotions, and bring ourselves back to a state of calm. I've found that even a few minutes of deep breathing can make a world of difference in how I approach challenges. The key to emotional regulation isn't about suppressing our feelings or pretending everything is okay when it's not. It's about accepting our emotions, understanding that they are temporary, and choosing to respond in a way that is aligned with our values and goals. It's about giving ourselves permission to feel, but not letting those feelings dictate our actions. By practicing mindfulness, challenging our negative thoughts, and showing ourselves compassion, we can regain control of our emotions and find peace in the chaos of life. There comes a point in everyone's life when we start questioning our purpose. We wonder, what am I really here for? What's the point of all of this? When life feels like it's running on autopilot, and the world around us seems to be constantly moving, it's easy to feel lost. But here's the truth I've discovered. Purpose isn't some grand, mystical moment that will suddenly light up your path. It's not something that falls from the sky, nor is it an epiphany you have while sitting on a mountaintop. Purpose is built in the smallest of moments. It's found in the everyday actions, the choices you make, and the steps you take, no matter how small they seem. The Stoics, with their unwavering focus on the present, remind us that purpose isn't something to be discovered once and for all. It's a daily practice, a constant journey. Every action we take, every decision we make can be a step toward that purpose. It doesn't matter if you're cooking a meal, working at a job you're not passionate about, or just taking care of your responsibilities. Purpose is embedded in the way you approach these moments. It's about doing things with intention, knowing that even the smallest tasks, when done mindfully, add value to your life. We often get caught up in the idea that we need to accomplish something extraordinary to feel like our lives have meaning. We think we need to be famous, wealthy, or successful by society's standards. But let me tell you this, those standards will never be enough to give you real, lasting purpose. The truth is, these external markers of success are fleeting and often hollow. They are imposed on us by a world that doesn't always understand the depth of what it means to live a purposeful life. And the pressure to meet these external expectations can be suffocating. I know this from personal experience. I've spent years chasing after things I thought would bring me happiness, titles, accolades, achievements, and every time I reached one, it felt like something was still missing. The real breakthrough for me came when I stopped chasing after the world's definition of success and started focusing on what truly mattered to me. I began to realize that purpose doesn't come from external validation. It comes from within. It's in the moments when you feel connected to what you're doing, when you feel like you're adding value to your life and to others. The Stoic philosophy teaches that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we approach the things that come our way. Purpose isn't found in the things we can't control, but in how we live in each moment and face each challenge. So, instead of getting overwhelmed by the world's pressures and trying to measure up to a set of standards that aren't yours to begin with, focus on the things that are within your control. What do you care about? What brings you joy? What can you do today, right now, that aligns with your values? It's in this focus, in this intentional living, that you will find purpose. It's not about waiting for a sign or a big moment to arrive. It's about taking small steps, being present, and choosing to live with intention. Each day, each choice, becomes a building block in the creation of a life filled with meaning. Purpose isn't a destination, it's a way of living. A way of showing up for yourself and for the world in a way that reflects who you truly are, not who others expect you to be. Pain, whether emotional or physical, has a way of consuming us. In those moments, it can feel like it will never end, like we're trapped in a cycle of suffering with no way out. We've all been there, haven't we? The overwhelming feeling of being crushed by circumstances, whether it's heartbreak, loss, illness, or the weight of life's challenges. It's as if the pain becomes our entire reality, and no matter how hard we try to push it away, it lingers, gnawing at us. But here's a truth that I've learned through both personal experience and Stoic wisdom. Pain, like everything else, is temporary, just as storms eventually pass. So does pain. It may feel like it's going to last forever, but in reality, it's only a chapter in a much larger story. The Stoics had a remarkable perspective on this. They understood that pain is an inevitable part of the human experience. It's not something we can avoid, and trying to avoid it only increases our suffering. But they also knew that pain, much like any other emotion, has a beginning and an end. It doesn't define us. It's not permanent. The key to getting through it isn't to resist it or fight against it. It's to accept it. Because when we accept pain, when we stop running from it, we free ourselves from the constant battle. We realize that, yes, it hurts, but it's not going to last forever. And in that realization, we find strength. I know that when you're in the thick of it, the idea of accepting pain may seem counterintuitive. Who wants to accept something that feels so wrong, so unfair? But the truth is, fighting against pain only makes it worse. Resistance feeds suffering. It's the constant pushing back that keeps us stuck in a cycle of despair. But when we stop resisting, when we allow ourselves to feel the pain fully, we begin to heal. It's in the acceptance of pain that we unlock the power to move through it. This isn't about passively enduring suffering or resigning ourselves to it. No, it's about understanding that pain is part of the process, and by embracing it, we become stronger. The Stoics believed that suffering is not something to be avoided, but something to be learned from. Each painful experience has something to teach us. It's through pain that we learn resilience, compassion, and the depth of our own humanity. Every time we endure pain and rise from it, we grow. We become more capable, more grounded, and more aware of our own strength. There is a strange kind of power that comes from acknowledging our pain. Instead of trying to suppress it, in doing so, we stop letting it control us. We regain our sense of agency. And even though it may seem impossible in the moment, that pain can serve as a catalyst for growth. It can push us to question our beliefs, redefine our boundaries, and find meaning in the most difficult experiences. And here's the paradox. The more we allow ourselves to fully experience pain, the more we learn to endure it, the more we start to see that pain has an expiration date. It will fade, the storm will pass, and when it does, we will be stronger, wiser, and better prepared for whatever challenges life throws our way next. Because, as the Stoics taught, it's not the pain that defines us, it's how we choose to respond to it. The key to overcoming suffering is not to avoid it, but to embrace it, learn from it, and move through it with strength and grace. Life can often feel like an endless race, a constant sprint where we're always trying to catch up, striving to meet deadlines, expectations, and goals. It's no surprise that, after a while, we feel drained, both mentally and physically. The exhaustion builds up, and before we know it, we're running on empty. It's like we're machines, programmed to keep going, but machines need rest to function at their best, right? So why do we think we're any different? Our bodies may eventually need sleep to recharge, but our minds and emotions need recovery, too. Without it, we're not truly recharging. We're just putting a temporary band-aid on the problem. Real energy restoration comes from taking a holistic approach, where we give ourselves the space to rest physically, emotionally, and mentally. I've been there. I've pushed myself to the brink, convinced that constant hustle was the only way to achieve what I wanted. But the truth is, I found myself getting more and more drained. I was working harder but feeling less effective. It wasn't until I started acknowledging the need for mental and emotional rest that I began to feel whole again. Rest doesn't just mean lying down. It means disconnecting from the constant demands of life. It's about giving yourself permission to breathe, to take a step back and reflect, to find space where you're not constantly being pulled in a million directions. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't just preach hard work. They also emphasized the importance of taking time to step away from the chaos, to reconnect with oneself in moments of solitude and reflection. The Stoic practice of pausing, of withdrawing from the hustle, allows us to regain clarity and restore our sense of balance. The world will always be demanding, always pushing us to do more, but we have the power to choose when to step back, to find moments of rest that help us regain control of our energy and our mind. It's in these quiet moments that we can reconnect with our inner peace and, ultimately, our vitality. So, what can we do to restore our energy and return to life with a renewed sense of purpose? First and foremost, self-care is crucial. We need to stop thinking of self-care as an indulgence or something we'll do when there's time. Self-care is essential for long-term productivity and well-being. It doesn't need to be extravagant. It can be as simple as taking a walk outside, moving your body, or even sitting in silence and meditating. The goal is to disconnect from the external noise, to focus on the things that are within our control. When we take time for ourselves, we're not being selfish, we're being responsible. We're ensuring that we can continue showing up for the world with energy, clarity, and focus. What's also important is how we respond to stress. Stress will always be there. It's inevitable. But how we handle it determines how much energy we lose to it. The Stoics taught that we can't control external circumstances, but we can control our reaction to them. When we're faced with stress, instead of letting it consume us, we can take a step back, breathe, and choose to respond thoughtfully. By controlling our reactions, we prevent stress from draining our energy and allow ourselves to stay grounded in the face of challenges. Ultimately, restoring our energy is about balance. It's about recognizing the need to rest, recharge, and reflect so we can approach life with a renewed sense of vitality. Our minds and bodies need time to recover. Just like any machine, the more we embrace rest and recovery as a necessary part of our journey, the better we'll be able to face whatever life throws our way. And when we do, we'll find that we have the strength, clarity, and energy to not just survive, but to thrive. Life has a way of throwing obstacles our way, and often, these challenges feel much more overwhelming than they truly are. It's not the situation itself that drains us, it's the way we perceive it. Have you ever noticed how a problem seems so much bigger when you're caught up in it? Right in the middle of it, with no distance to gain perspective. That's the trap. We become so immersed in the challenge, so overwhelmed by its size, that we forget there's another way to look at it. The way we interpret and react to obstacles can either make them seem insurmountable or manageable. And the key to shifting that perception lies in changing our thoughts. The Stoics taught us a powerful lesson in this regard. It's not the events of life that cause us pain, but how we choose to interpret them. The obstacles we face are not inherently negative. What defines them as problems is the way we react to them. We have the power to change the way we think about challenges, to reframe them not as threats but as opportunities for growth. This is something I've learned through experience. Whenever I've been faced with difficulty, my first instinct was to feel like it was an insurmountable burden. But when I took a step back and tried to view the situation from a different angle, suddenly, the obstacle didn't seem so daunting. In fact, it became clear that it was just another part of my journey. Another step I needed to take to move forward. Reframing doesn't mean ignoring the reality of the situation. It's not about pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about looking at those challenges from a different perspective, seeing them as opportunities to grow rather than burdens to bear. Think about it like this. Imagine you're looking at a painting up close. You can only see the individual brush strokes, and it might appear messy, chaotic, but when you step back, the whole picture comes into view, and suddenly, what seemed like a mess transforms into a work of art. The same principle applies to life's challenges. When we're in the thick of things, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. But if we take a step back and reframe the situation, we can often see that what we're facing is not as impossible as it seemed. The Stoics were masters of this mindset. They didn't view hardship as something to fear or avoid. Instead, they saw it as a natural part of life, an opportunity to practice resilience, to cultivate inner strength. The idea is simple. When faced with adversity, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or, how can I grow through this experience? The answer is often not immediately clear, but by shifting our perspective, we can start to see the lessons hidden within the struggle. When we change how we view difficulties, we transform them from insurmountable challenges into manageable tasks. Instead of feeling defeated by them, we feel empowered to face them head-on. This doesn't mean the challenges become any easier, but it does mean we become stronger, more capable of handling them. We start to see every obstacle as an opportunity to evolve, to push beyond our limits, and to come out on the other side with greater wisdom and strength. This shift in perspective is life-changing. It allows us to stop feeling like victims of our circumstances and start seeing ourselves as active participants in our own growth. Every difficulty becomes a stepping stone, every setback a lesson, and every challenge a chance to become better than we were before. And that's the real power of reframing. It not only helps us survive life's challenges, it helps us thrive through them. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to be happy, productive, and always moving forward. The message is clear. If you're not smiling, if you're not achieving something, then something's wrong. This pressure to constantly be on can be overwhelming, and it can make us feel guilty for experiencing emotions like sadness, fatigue, or frustration. We feel as though we're somehow failing when we're not feeling great. But the truth is, that's just a natural part of being human. It's okay to feel down sometimes. It's not a sign of weakness or failure. In fact, it's a sign that you're alive, and that you're experiencing the full range of human emotions. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't expect us to be happy all the time, and they certainly didn't believe in suppressing emotions. They believed that the emotional roller coaster of life is inevitable, and that we shouldn't shy away from the difficult feelings that come with it. Instead, they taught us to accept our emotions, not as something to be feared or avoided, but as part of the human experience. Happiness is fleeting, and so is sadness. It all comes and goes. And the key is not to attach ourselves to any one emotion, but to allow them to pass through us without judgment. By accepting our emotions, we don't let them control us. Instead, we regain control over how we respond to them. I know, personally, it's easy to feel guilty when I'm not feeling at my best. I've been there, feeling overwhelmed by work, frustrated by personal challenges, or simply exhausted, and then beating myself up for not being able to snap out of it. But what I've learned is that there's no shame in feeling down or having moments of emotional overload. These feelings are natural and, in many ways, necessary. They remind us that we are engaged with life, that we are connected to our experiences. The challenge isn't in avoiding or suppressing these emotions, but in learning how to manage them in a way that allows us to move through them with grace. One of the most powerful tools for emotional balance is simply allowing ourselves to feel. This doesn't mean wallowing in negativity, but rather acknowledging our feelings without judgment. Deep breathing can help us slow down and regain clarity when emotions feel overwhelming. It's a simple practice, but it can make a world of difference. By focusing on our breath, we create a space between stimulus and reaction, allowing us to respond mindfully instead of reacting impulsively. Mindfulness is another practice that can help us regain control over our emotions. By being present in the moment, we detach from the stories we tell ourselves about why we're feeling a certain way. Instead of getting lost in self-criticism, we simply observe our emotions, accept them, and let them pass through us. This practice allows us to create emotional distance from our feelings, so that we don't become consumed by them. It's like standing outside of a storm, watching the rain fall, knowing that it will eventually stop. Validating our emotions, accepting them as part of the process, and practicing mindfulness can help us regain balance when life feels overwhelming. Emotions are not enemies to be defeated. They are messages from within that tell us what we need. By acknowledging and accepting our feelings, we honor our own humanity. It's not about being happy all the time, but about being true to ourselves in every emotional state we experience. And when we do that, we regain the power to move forward with authenticity, resilience, and peace. As we come to the final part of this journey, I want to remind you of something incredibly important. It's the small steps that matter. Too often, we get caught up in the idea that we need to make huge, sweeping changes in order to move forward. We think we have to fix everything at once, or else we're failing. But here's the truth. Life is built on small moments, small actions, and small decisions. It's not about achieving perfection or having everything figured out. It's about taking one step at a time, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to where you want to be, and that is something to be proud of. One of the most powerful tools for navigating life's challenges is gratitude. When life feels overwhelming, it's easy to focus on everything that's wrong or that you don't have. But shifting your focus, even just for a moment, to what you do have, whether it's your health, the people around you, or the simple things that bring you joy, can transform the way you experience the world. Gratitude grounds you in the present moment, reminding you that there is always something worth appreciating, no matter how difficult things may seem. It's also about reconnecting with what truly matters to you. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to lose sight of what's important. We get so wrapped up in chasing external success or meeting the expectations of others that we forget to check in with ourselves. But the Stoics remind us that true fulfillment doesn't come from external accomplishments. It comes from aligning our actions with our values, from living in a way that is true to who we are, not who we think we should be. I can tell you from personal experience that it's in the hardest moments that we often find the most growth. I've faced times in my life where I thought I wouldn't make it through, where the challenges felt too big to handle. But it was in those moments, when I was pushed to my limits, that I learned who I really was. It was in the pain, the struggle, and the uncertainty that I grew the most. The Stoics believed that hardship is not something to fear or avoid, but something to embrace. It's through adversity that we become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. So when life gets tough, and it will, remember this: it's not the challenge itself that defines you, but how you respond to it. You have the power to choose how you react. Every moment, every challenge, gives you the opportunity to practice resilience, gratitude, and growth. The key is in your hands. Life doesn't require perfection, but it does require intention. It's about how you choose to walk through the ups and downs, how you decide to show up for yourself and for others. So, I challenge you today. Take that first small step. Show up for yourself, reconnect with what matters, and remember, the only thing that truly matters is how you choose to walk through life's challenges. You have the power to turn every setback into an opportunity for growth. The power is in your hands.